Hi, I'm Peter Krause, and you're watching In Studio with The Hollywood Reporter.
You're here to talk all things 911.
Yep.
First, before you joined season 1, what stood out to you about the series and made you want to join?
Well, Ryan Murphy pitched both the series and the character to me,
Yeah.
and what he had to say was very interesting and has come true. So when you see the show, that's exactly what he pitched.
Yeah.
He wanted 911 to drive, to move, and be different from other procedural shows and have humor and romance, and that's what you see. I've always enjoyed doing different projects. I've never tried to repeat myself. And fortunately for me, there's been a very short period of time in between the end of one series and the beginning of another. And in terms of those which I've thought would go a distance, I've been pretty spot on. Sports Night was the only one I miscalculated. I thought when I took that, I thought like this is going to be on for, 5-7 seasons.
It should have been.
Yeah, and 6 Feet Under I knew. Dirty Sexy Money I was less sure about.
What was that?
Well, ABC had said that they wanted a cable show for network, and Craig Wright and I both thought, well, let's see if that's what they really want. And so we gave that to them, and after we made the pilot initially, they wanted it changed.
Yeah.
It was too dark, and so we reshot a bunch of stuff. And of course, that show also, as Donald Sutherland famously said, it's difficult to make a show about billionaires with mere millions.
With the return this spring and throughout the series, the rescues are really intense and pretty wild.
Yeah.
For you, what has been the favorite ones to perform as an actor? Which ones have stood out to you the most?
In the first season, I would say the plane crash in the ocean. That was a tough shoot, but a great bonding experience for Oliver and Aisha and I. It was so cold up in Disney Ranch, 27 degrees one night. And, we're all wet. We got wetsuits on and things like that. But that was great. The earthquake, which we started off season 2, that was a tough shoot, but I love the end result on the show. It's really hard work on 911, but what we end up with, I think, is it's a superior product. I love all the different tones that it has. The plane crash we filmed from October to January. I mean, it was split up because we had to film it in different places. We filmed at Dockweiler Beach. Have you ever been out there?
No. Should I go?
I mean, you can light a bonfire and you can watch 747s go right over your head. It's pretty cool.
That's insane.
No.
What's your reaction usually when you get a script and kind of see these insane rescues? Like, what was your reaction to the shark?
With the shark, I was concerned about just going all the way back to Jaws and being concerned about prop sharks, rubber sharks and things like that. And, there were moments in that episode where you could kind of tell this was a giant latex shark bouncing around in the cargo netting.
What the hell?
Tiger shark! We were transporting her for release into the wild. Truck jackknife.
Jaws! Right. All right, those Jaws. Jaws! I'm on it.
And they made sure to slip in those Jaws jokes in there.
Yeah, indeed.
Like all
and
over.
Also, it started with Touch of Grey, the Grateful Dead song, Great White Shark, and it was directed by John Gray, so they have some fun behind the scenes.
That for the spring return, that facelift scene is pretty graphic, and I was kind of screaming watching it a little bit.
That was interesting. We had that at the Paley Fest. That episode played, and there was a collective gasp in the audience when her forehead fell down over her eyes.
It was so scary.
Yeah.
Throughout the show, what have you learned most about first responders?
They have a very difficult job.
Yeah.
The hours that they have to keep, the number of hours they have to be awake and do what they have to do. It's a difficult job. So anytime we're experiencing difficulty on set, all of us always remind each other that, this isn't the real deal.
Yeah, you guys are...
Even though this is a difficult acting job, this is doesn't even
really
come close, no.
Have you heard from first responders, I guess, who watched the show and said, wow, you guys get this right, or wow, we wouldn't do that?
We get a little bit of both, and they understand that it's television, but I think that they enjoy all the elements of the show. The fact that their lives, not just their heroic moments, but their lives are explored and the difficulty that they have with certain things. And it was interesting to me the first season. There's a fire captain down in Long Beach that I became friendly with who talked to me about the story about my character and his inner life. And he had just lost a friend of his in the past couple of years to suicide. And I was surprised to find out how many first responders end up taking their own life. It's startling.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
You obviously work closely with Angela Bassett.
Yep.
What has stood out to you about working with her?
She's fearless and prepared. I mean, there was a moment she was a little apprehensive in an upcoming episode where I have to hand her a live animal.
What was that about?
We had to wrangle this rooster. There was a cockfight, and they clip on these razors basically on the roosters so that they tear each other apart. And in the story, this particular rooster named Maurice goes berserk and slices up the owner of the rooster. And we have to get the rooster. Everybody's chasing it around. I end up wrapping it up in a towel, and as I hand it to Athena, it was the first time. Angela was visibly like, "Okay."
Did she drop it?
No,
or
she
is-
went. No, she went for it. She grabbed onto it real tight and kept its wings down, and she was all right. At one point, we were filming that scene, and Aisha Hines, because a lot of times these scenes come in late, and we're learning the dialogue on the fly, and she actually said, "I can't believe that we're at a cock ring fight." Everybody just kind of stopped and looked at her. She realized what she said, but it was a fun scene to shoot.
What's usually the on-set dynamic between everyone? Because it is an ensemble.
We have a terrific time together. Sometimes we have too much fun. There are times we play a lot of ping pong at the fire station. If it's a group scene, directors, I think, sometimes feel like they have to wrangle us, because it was similar to Parenthood, where everybody kind of starts talking over each other and having a good time. So there's a great family dynamic on 911.
For season 2, what have been some of your favorite scenes to shoot, and what have been the most challenging, would you say?
Well, Bobby Begins Again was very challenging emotionally. It was the first time since 6 Feet Under I think I've had to carry that much emotional weight and be that emotionally available. Certainly had to do some on Parenthood. But when we go back with Bobby and, we see him lose his children and lose his wife, those were difficult scenes to shoot. And then there's a fire scene in that episode, where I have to drag somebody out of a burning restaurant. And they had flame everywhere. And I was probably the best off because I had all the fire gear on, and I had a SCADA tank on with, fresh air blowing on my face. But the camera operator, Bryce, he was wearing shorts. And actually the first take we did, we noticed that his calf hair had been singed, because the temperatures inside were approaching 200 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
And they designed this room beautifully with doors and windows that would open immediately to get the smoke and the heat out. But those were tough scenes to film, dragging people out of a burning building.
Everyone's talking about the flashback episode last night. Mm-hmm. Before joining the project, how much did you know about Bobby's backstory? Was it something you wanted to know, or?
Well, Ryan pretty much laid it out for
Okay.
me when I met him. That was part of it, was that he had this loss in his past, this hole that will never be filled, no matter what. And yet we do get to see him in his relationship with Athena heal. And that was something that I did not know coming into it. So I didn't know how much of that weight I was going to have to carry, but it was fascinating as we moved through the series to see that this new environment for Bobby, these new people became his new family. And as he says in this episode, I now have 2 new families, because he's really becoming more and more intimate with Athena. And then, Buck is like his son. And then Hen and Chimney are like his 2 best pals. It's that was the aspect of it I didn't know that was coming, was that Bobby was going to heal through these relationships. And again, when I spoke with Brad Falchuk about this, he pointed out, rightly so, that it's a hole that can't be filled, which is what we started with. Like, no matter what you do, you'll never be able to fill that hole completely. It's always going to be there.
Do you think Athena fills that hole for him, or?
I think over time, I think that's what we're going to see, is that, that Bobby can heal, and I think that helps give the audience hope for people who've gone through really difficult things and have difficult loss in their lives. And that's what that character's for, I think, is that life does go on and you can go on. It may take time, and you really do, I think, in life heal through positive relationships.
Lastly, I have to ask you, do you think we're related?
I don't know.
I get it told all the time
yeah.
that we look just like. Jimmy Kimmel told me.
Oh, yeah.
I was told this morning before he got here. I don't know.
What's your ethnic background?
I am not Norwegian.
You're not
But
Norwegian,
I am
okay.
Irish and Italian.
Okay, I got some Irish in me.
You do?
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
Well, my sister did her 23andMe, and I know there are variants among siblings.
Yeah.
But we were 60% Scandinavian still. But the only surprise was there was some Ashkenazi Jewish in there. So
Okay.
that was our That was our only surprise. Of everything else that our parents told us was like, yep, Polish, yep, German, yep, English. Oh, Irish was actually a little bit of a surprise. There's like touch of Irish, Finnish.
This is a
all
huge
that
plug
stuff.
for 23andMe.
Yeah, I
Do one after
guess,
this.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Really
you.
nice talking to you. Make sure to watch
Thank you.
911 every Monday on Fox.